What's up, everyone? It has been a little bit of a hiatus, but I'm back with a lovely 7-spell hand. So, very exciting stuff. Here for round 1, playing against Jabberwocky, Magic Online Master. His name is Logan Nettles, and he is a cousin to Reed Duke, actually. So, obviously, very, very good at Magic, and coincidentally, just a very, very nice guy, too. So, one of my favorite people. Don't get to see him very often, but when I do, it's always a good time. So, yeah, we have 7 spells, not super great. I generally keep a decent amount of 1-landers, but the 0-landers, not too much. So, last season, Jabberwocky was playing a lot of Red-Green Marvel. He was basically the person who pioneered that deck. So this season, I'm not really sure what he's playing, so didn't really know what to expect. But, like, this hand is just generally good enough to keep. I kept the Mountain on top with my Scry. He mulled to 6 also, and Sunken Hollow is kind of interesting, so there aren't a lot of great blue-black decks out there. So we game trail on 1. We Oath of Nissa to try and fill our curve, and if we hit like a Felidar Guardian or something, we could play it off the Servant on turn 3 to blink our Oath of Nissa now that we have 3 lands. Otherwise, there are a decent amount of situations where I would lead with a Tune and try and use Oath to fill my curve later because, like, I don't really know what I want right now. But yeah, sometimes there are certain things where it's like, okay, well, if he's Sunken Hollow, then I definitely want Rogue Refiner or Felidar Guardian to blink the Oath of Nissa. So we pick up another land, which is not great. Now we're a little land heavy, especially with the Attune, and so he's playing Sultai. And there was a Sultai deck that 5-0'd a league a little bit before the Pro Tour, and I think it was the same player that played it in the Pro Tour. And I think they went 7-3, and their deck was pretty sweet, so you'll see more of that as this game goes on. So yeah, another land off the top for us. Obviously not super great. We have the Shock that is probably not going to do much against their deck, and just more lands. More land. So I'm showing them lands with these Attune with Aethers and whatnot. But it is very important to get the fast lands out, even though he knows I have planes and stuff. Like, the information is not that big of a deal. So, Logan plays a Tireless Tracker, so we get to shock that thing and pick up another land. At least this time it's a Lumbering Falls. It's something that does something, you know? And we get a Whirler Virtuoso. It looked like he was holding open counter mana, like, the deck from the Pro Tour, I think, had Disallow in it. So, it also had To the Slaughter. But if my Lumbering Falls dies to the Slaughter, I don't really mind that much. Although I could certainly, like, play Whirler Virtuoso, make a Thopter, and, like, protect it from To the Slaughter. But I just expect this to probably get countered. But maybe it's not a big enough threat. Maybe I should have just played the Whirler. And he grapples. So, we draw a Marvel. And this is obviously a spell that I want to resolve, and I think that this is his Torrential Gearhulk turn, so I think that there is certainly a lot of merit to just playing the Marvel, to at least, like, if he has a counterspell, then he can't play Gearhulk this turn, but then the problem becomes that he has Gearhulk with a counterspell in his graveyard, so I'm not really sure which is better, but I figured that I could probably get 2 big spells and just, like, overload his mana. Obviously, Gearhulk puts me on a very fast clock, so maybe not the best choice here. And he is just going to get a Glimmer and flash that back. Maybe. Yep. Alright. The resizing is bad, so we'll keep the graveyards open. So yeah, Gearhulk's putting pressure on me. I have Whirler Virtuoso. I could make a token of Chump, but I think I'm going to want the potential energy if I ever do resolve this Marvel. So Tune is not really what we're looking for, but it's okay. You know, we got Lumbering Falls, maybe we can race, right? Again, still looking for that second big spell. Unfortunately, Logan has also found another Torrential Gearhulk, which he gets to grapple with. And I believe get back a Quagmire. So yeah, it takes out the Virtuoso. I don't make any Thopters because I figure I'm going to go down to 5 here, and then I need to start marveling into Elder Deep Fiends to even have a shot. And then I don't draw another big spell. I should have Rogue Refinered here first, but yeah, he grappled away a negate and then traversed for another Torrential Gearhulk, so I was actually just dead. So maybe I was supposed to actually play the Marvel the chance that I had and just like hope he didn't have a counterspell, because it was not looking good. So we start off with a loss, and I kind of hate how it just, like, you know, gives you the spoiler here, but I don't know what else to do. Spoiler alert, I win the match. I basically side in some Tireless Trackers, Dispels, and Negates, cut Shock, Hardest Lightning, a few of the combo pieces, and if you have slots left over, generally it's okay to trim on things like Whirler Virtuoso. So this hand is a little clunky. You have things like Deep Fiend, Aetherworks Marvel, but Saheeli Rise like pretty decent against them, so is Tracker. And obviously lead with the Fast Land in case we draw Botanical Sanctum or something similar. Play out Servant, and now this game, it seems like we have the opposite problem, right? Where it's like we don't have enough land drops, and that's kind of a travesty when we have Tireless Tracker. So he goes right away and transgresses away the Saheeli, which I think is interesting because it means that he doesn't have early pressure or like a Ruinous Path or any way to remove it. Probably does not have like a Lost Legacy to break up the combo because like Saheeli by itself is, it's sort of threatening, but not really. Like when you start copying Rogue Refiners and stuff, then it's pretty good, but yeah, we get to play a Tracker, no land drop. He does not kill the Tracker, which is certainly good for us. And then I Rogue Refiner to try and hit my land drop. It's possible that I could have played out another Tracker, gave him two big things he had to deal with, but he Spell Shrivels me, which is interesting, because most of the decks have some sort of 1 UU counterspell. And I don't feel like you Spell Shrivel if you think your mana is good enough to play Disallow or something similar. So we get picked. He takes my Mana Dork, correct? Yes. Because we are out of mana, or we're out of energy for the Servant. But we draw Lumbering Falls, get to make another clue. The clue sacrifice should probably happen now, but I don't do that. I remember this vividly. I was like, okay, well maybe like I want to not sack it right away to play around a discard spell or whatever, but it's like he's got pre-mode discard targets anyway. So there's really no reason for me to not sack now and get in the extra point. So was hoping that was not going to come back to bite me. So we find our lands. And now the plan is to hit him with Tracker during his upkeep, Deep Fiend him, so he can't Gearhulk, untap, and resolve a Marvel. And while Marvel isn't necessarily game over, it certainly increases our chances by a lot. And since this Tracker has just stuck around for forever, it's pretty easy for him to not have a removal spell. So I think that something like End of Turn Kill Your Servant is probably not going to happen. Even if it did, we could still sack the Tracker and it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But yeah, he End of Turn grapples, picks up a Swamp. So Gearhulk is probably coming. And we Deep Fiend him off blue. And that's just it. Like, we could, like, even if he had a removal spell, we get to resolve Marvel, but since he doesn't have a removal spell, he's just dead on board. So, perfect, perfect. Resize this right quick. So this opener is kind of interesting in that we have Aether Hub Oath of Nissa as kind of like our only way to get green mana. So we're really banking on this Oath of Nissa to hit. If If it doesn't hit, it's pretty bad, but the rest of our hand is pretty good too. Like, we have Marvel plus Dispel backup, so like even if we don't hit green mana, if we just hit mana in general, I think we're still fine. Obviously, most of the mana in the deck is green, so that's certainly good. That allows these hands to be keepable. Aether Hub plus Attune with Aether is just a very easy keep, but the Aether Hub Oath of Nissa ones are kind of sketchy. Still, I keep it. Second Oath of Nissa is not great. It's only good if we hit another green source. Which we do not. So pick up second copy of Rogue Refiner in case we ever do find that green, and then can hopefully draw into more lands here. And then in the meantime, we're just kind of like letting him do his thing. Certainly feel like we're falling pretty far behind. Oh, but lo and behold, forced off the top. And here come the Rogue Refiners. So he's going to Spell Shrivel the first one. Main phase Grapple, presumably for a land. And we could get super greedy here and try and like Oath into an untapped green source, but I don't think that's super wise with our green sources being like Lumbering Falls, Game Trail, Botanical Sanctum, things like that. So we just Rogue Refiner, cycle, hit another Oath, which is, whatever. Well, maybe we'll find that green mana eventually. And while he's building up his mana base, he Grasp of Darknesses my Rogue Refiner. Possible he didn't want to get hit by Deep Fiend. So then we Oath of Nissa, get a Botanical Sanctum. Not great. So we're not doing much else with our turn, but we still have Negate open in case he has like Pick the Brain or something. Might want to counter that. So draw a Tune, which is always nice, especially when you're going to hit a land drop, because you basically just get to cast this for free and develop your mana. I think casting this is much safer than playing Oath of Nissa and trying to spike, and we can always save Oath later to search for threats. Search up Mountain because it casts Whirler Virtuoso, and we don't really need Plains for anything aside from Felidar Guardian, so Mountain is basically better. And we get to play Virtuoso with Dispel backup. Not really going to be dispelling anything except a Glimmer here, and only just because he's missing land drops. Like, if he went to kill the Whirler Virtuoso, cool. I'm okay with that. I'm not going to go out of my way to actually protect it, but I do dispel the Glimmer. It seems like with Evolving Wilds, the fast lands, the creature lands, land 6 is probably going to ETB tapped a fairly high percentage of the time. And he main phase Glimmers to try and hit his land drop, so just desperation. So we could Thopter here end of turn, but I'd rather save the energy for the Marvel, especially since I have Negate backup to protect it. And we actually do hit. We spike an untapped land, which is pretty impressive. So possible I should have attacked here first. Because now he just gets to grasp in response to my Marvel. And I just pass the turn with 7 energy and Negate open. Upkeep, activate Marvel, trying to hit a Deep Fiend. And it just always happens. Like, Marvel and Deep Fiend are just best friends. So he's going to float the 6. Gear Hulk. Try Natural Obsolescence my Marvel, because that's the main thing I have going on, even though I don't have a lot of energy. And we're going to negate to protect this for sure. We untap, play another Oath of Nissa. Nice interaction with the legendary permanents. You get another energy off this thing, which is great. Hit an untapped land is our best choice, which is completely fine. We get to Guardian the Oath of Nissa. Slowly climbing back up to more energy. Hit a Rogue Refiner. That's cool. That'll be nice for next turn. And we have Deep Fiend to block the Gear Hulk. I feel like Deep Fiend is something that he will probably have to kill at some point. So I don't think that there's much value in actually just sacking a Deep Fiend to Deep Fiend him again. At least on his upkeep, you know? Like, I wanna see what he's up to. What's going on, and maybe like once he passes end of turn I could tap him out of blue or whatever, but right now I'm in no rush. Just trying to work this Marvel. And now, do I Deep Fiend him here? Yeah, I do. it seems like a reasonable spot to actually be able to start attacking and whatnot. So up to 3 energy. Rogue Refiner puts us up to 5. Whirler Virtuoso gets us there. And then we Marvel, hit Saheeli, and we're just going to go for it. And that should be it. So, yeah, a few things, like, if, I don't know, if a lot of my creatures are living, I'm pretty sure that my opponent is light on removal, and that's why I think it's safe to actually go for it here. Also, if he kills my Felidar Guardian, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, I still have kind of like the World's Fair going on, like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, that's kind of the thing with this Sultai deck, is that there are no sweepers. There's no real good way to catch you back up. And yeah, he can like Gear Hulk another removal spell or whatever, but like a lot of his stuff doesn't beat a 5/6. We have another 5/6 waiting in the wings. If he starts killing our stuff, then we can Marvel again. Like, we have a lot of stuff going on, so I don't think it's like that big of a risk to actually go for it, but I also felt like my opponent just didn't have it. So there you go. Simple.